Hi, my name's Jessie Quack, and I am the editor of the Crooked series of sci-fi crime anthologies. I'll tell you a little bit more about that after the presentation, but right now I want to introduce Maddi Davidson. So Maddi is actually the pen name for two sisters living on opposite sides of the country, Mary Ann Davidson in Idaho and Diane Davidson in Virginia. And it's actually Mary Ann who's going to be reading today from Volume 2 of the Crooked series. So together they've published several novels, a nonfiction book, and numerous short stories. Their tales range from the murder of a deranged scientist resurrecting the dodo to a spurned wife hacking the pacemaker of an ex-husband who richly deserves it. All right, take it away, Marianne.
Mining Orsorthium on Galena 552 meant crawling along dark tunnels, breathing foul air, and using antiquated laser drills to extract the ore from surrounding rocks, all of which played hell on my manicure. When the whistle sounded, I took the tram to the mine's entrance and trudged the quarter mile to the main building, my excitement growing with each step. After stumbling into the women's locker room, I sat on a bench next to a large metal laundry bin and emitted a deep sigh, as if I were exhausted. Verna Smoots, the gods bless her little heart, sat next to me. You okay, Smelda? I'm fine, Verna. Need to rest a moment. Please don't let me keep you from getting cleaned up. I'm okay. I'll keep you company. Damn. Verna prattled on about her dinner plans for her boyfriend as coworkers ripped off their overalls, shoved them in a laundry bins, and sauntered into the shower area. About half the shift had departed when I reached into my pocket and pressed a button on a remote control. And of course, I'll serve organic slugs for an appetizer, Verna said. The sound of a distant rumble from an explosion deep in the mine penetrated the walls of the locker room. What's that? Verna started to say when blasts 2 and 3 near the mine's entrance rocked the building. Amidst the cacophony of screams, shrieks, and wails, I added my voice. Run for your lives, I yelled. Verna took off toward the showers as the smoke bomb I'd placed earlier under a locker room bench detonated. I dove into the laundry bin, whacking my left knee, but thrilled at the near perfection of the blast. Music to my ears, or it would be once they stopped ringing. Tossing out the dirty overalls, I made quick work of the false bottom, which hid the stash of orsorthium nuggets I'd pinched over the past month. Moments later, I extricated myself from the bin and hobbled toward the showers, babying my sore, bruised knee. Security protocol required miners to remove their boots and strip off the company-provided clothing before using the communal showers. Since orsorthium was one of the rarest and priciest metals in the galaxy, at 500 centiams per gram, fine filters were used to capture the orthodust from the clothing and shower wastewater. Exiting the shower room, miners encountered security guards and top-of-the-line body scanning machines, lest anyone try to smuggle nuggets out in their orifices or hair. During my first week on the job, a woman stuffed a minuscule nugget into a tooth, which had a hole but no filling. The body scan picked up the metal. A diligent guard pried her jaw open and extracted both tooth and nugget, not for the first time. As a consequence, Gummy Glenda lost her last molar. The female guards had fled, so I bypassed the scanner and entered the dressing room. I expected the area to be empty, but a dozen women who were unwilling to run naked through the building were putting on clothes. A handful, placing beauty before imminent death, were applying makeup. I grabbed my small hard-side suitcase out of a locker, dumped the nuggets inside, and pressed the fire alarm button just to add to the confusion. Stepping into the building's lobby, I encountered a scene of pure bedlam. Dozens of guards responding from across the compound were pouring into the building. Suspecting the blast had been a diversionary tactic to cover up a theft, even a trained ape could figure that out, security personnel were tackling anyone who moved. I limped toward an emergency exit, but one of those apes intercepted me. Literally, a 300-pound trained gorilla held me in a bear hug. I know, I'm mixing metaphors. I slipped a hand into my pocket and pressed the second button on the remote. I submit to you that a mix of decomposing body, rotten eggs, the spray from a skunk's anal gland, and odeur de men's locker room can be considered no more than an unpleasant odor as compared to the gag-inducing stench of Syrax species. And why, you might ask, am I mentioning the Syrax, the elephant-sized carrion eater from the Epsilon Eridani system? Because I'd arranged for Syrax poop extract in seals canisters to be hidden in the air ducts of the building. Pressing the remote control opened the containers. Knowing a God's awful smell would fill the building and lacking a severe head cold to block my sinuses, I closed my eyes and held my breath. I heard rather than saw the convulsing and retching around me. Note to self, carry a small can of eau de Syrax in case of unpleasant dating encounters. When the gorilla's grasp loosened, I wiggled away, reached into my case, and pulled out a full-face gas mask. Everyone in the lobby was incapacitated, most still heaving. They'd be out of action for days. I tossed a few smoke bombs to cloud the picture for anyone looking in from outside, made my way to a fire exit, and edged out. I love it when my scathingly brilliant plans work. My birth name is Tasty Brioche Twistletoe, and no, I don't know what my parents were thinking, though it may have been reflection on their extreme dedication to the carbohydrates of the French persuasion. In the dark spaces metaverse, I'm known by many monikers, but I would have changed my name even if I weren't a thief. I was 6 years old when my father left my mother for another woman, one who would not be as wedded, so to speak, to a lavish lifestyle. Mother says we were left destitute. Her opinion of possessing merely 2 homes, a half dozen large diamonds, 40,000 shares of Interspace Ships Limited, and 3 bank accounts. Mother believed she had little choice but to turn to crime to augment our meager assets. She specialized in fleecing older men. In possession of elfin features, a helpless mien, artificial lashes she batted often and coquettishly, and no mercy, she siphoned off millions of pelus from a series of rich men. Even when they realized she'd left them with depleted bank accounts, few of her victims were angry with her, believing the poor, sweet little thing too innocent to rob them blind by design. As one might expect, Mother's success required her socially backward and awkward child, me, be stowed out of the way, say in a boarding school on an isolated planet near the edge of the galaxy, with no regular spaceship service. When cosmetic surgery and the application of makeup with a trowel became insufficient to mask her advancing age, my mother retired from her lucrative career. She brought me home and began teaching me the principles of the con. Mother expected that I, her sole offspring, would devote my life to keeping her in the lifestyle she deserved. To her great disappointment, my gawkiness and clumsiness had increased rather than abated as I grew, regularly spilling food and drink, tripping on level ground, and careening into priceless and breakable antiques. Nevertheless, she persevered, instructing me on how to assume a persona and use appropriate makeup, mannerisms, and clothing to support the mirage. She guided me in the ways of a femme fatale, how to make men drool at my beck and call. I tried, but despite my best efforts, only dogs drooled. Basset hounds loved me. After a while, Mother gave up, acknowledging that her flat-chested daughter with flyaway hair, a pot belly, and the legs of an anorectic stork would never be irresistible to men. I made my way to the hauler maintenance building and slipped inside to change. I shed my boots and the foul-smelling mining suit and, bare for all the world to see, stooped to retrieve my clothes from the bag. From behind me came an appreciative sigh. A little skinny, but I don't mind. I pulled my clenched hands out of the bag, stood, and turned to find a grease monkey leering at me. No, not a simian. This one was human and wearing oil-stained overalls labeled mechanic. He licked his lips and took a step toward me. I smiled, licked my lips, took a step toward him. A flicker of uncertainty passed over his face a moment before I raised my right arm and electroshocked his jewels, his family jewels. 5 hours later, I sat in a booth in a shadowy corner of a hoity-toity bar. To be clear, hoity-toity on this planet means the operators guaranteed no vermin of the non-human kind would be found on the premises alive. I'd assumed the disguise of a young male, bulky jacket and black pants, 5 o'clock shadow, paste on, bushy mustache, also paste on, and wet, foul-smelling boots. I'd been leaning against a tree across the street, waiting for my contact to enter the bar when a stray gink, pink porcupine wolf hybrid, relieved itself against the aforementioned tree and me. I sipped 18-year-old fermented formaldehyde. My companion, who called himself Red Eye, don't ask me why, his eyes were dark brown like mine, discreetly essayed the nuggets I'd stashed in a rubber-lined satchel. I'd had to ditch the suitcase because of the lingering Syrax odor. Fortunately, the nuggets and my clothes smelled no worse than sweat. My boots, though, were another matter. With a small dropper, Red Eye extracted hydrochloric acid from a bottle and dispensed the solution onto the nuggets to ascertain their purity. Satisfied with the results, he closed the satchel and passed a small navy string bag to me under the table. Red Eye drank his expensive bourbon imported from Earth, and I examined the contents of the money bag. "You're short," I said after rummaging inside to ensure the bag contained nothing but currency. "This can't be more than 50,000 colus. The deal was for 75,000 colus." "You promised the goods would be delivered last month," he retorted. "You promised me an accurate report on the security systems, but the scanners I found were several generations newer than what you'd stated. We warned you the information was 6 months old, and we were not responsible for any subsequent changes to the situation. However, since the scanner upgrade caused you additional trouble, you may have another 8,000 colus, which I'll send to you after I'm off this planet." Like I'd ever see the money. 10,000 colus, I countered. "You'll pay me now, and I'll show you the fake nugget in which I've hidden a tracking device. The police would just love to know the frequency."
Hi, and welcome back. I promised I'd tell you a little bit more about Crooked at the end, and here we are. So what is Crooked? It's a series of sci-fi crime anthologies that have been edited by me, and the idea is that it exclusively focuses on including stories that are part of a bigger universe. So this is what sets Crooked apart. If you came to this anthology because you wanted to read the story from one author whose series you love, hopefully you'll find another author who writes kind of in a similar style or writes maybe something dissimilar, but just something that you're into. You can then go and read that story and be like, oh, I want more of these characters. Head to their website and find more of their work. So for example, if you loved this reading, check out the show notes below and you'll get a link to the author's website. So this has been an incredibly fun anthology series to work on. Please keep an eye out for round 3, which will be coming next year sometime. And if you enjoyed this reading, please support the author. Go buy their books. Head to bit.ly/CROOKED V.2, and you can find this anthology to find more of the stories. And yeah, I hope you had a really good time, and take care out there. Bye.